Okay, so in this video, I'm going to do this problem, exercise 68. But before you do exercise 68, you need to know what SIGHN is, the sine function. And I'm going to call it the signum function, even though it's written SIGHN, so you don't mix it up with sine and cosine fame. So the signum function is this function. It's +1 if x is bigger than 0, it's 0 if x equals 0, and it's -1 if x is less than 0. So it tells you, is it a plus sign or is it a minus sign in front of your number? So for example, the signum of 0.3, that's a positive number, so it's +1. The signum of -6.7 is a negative number, so that's a -1. And what is the signum of 0? Well, that's just 0. So it's either +1, 0, or -1, and it tells you if it's a positive or negative number. Okay, how do we use this in a problem? So sketch the function signum of cosine of x on the interval -2 pi to pi. So again, this is a combination of things, right? This is a composition of functions, the signum function and the cosine function, and then determine the period of f, the range and the domain of f for all x. So what is this going to look like? And again, I'm going to start with writing out the signum of cosine of x just by the definition of signum. This is +1 if cosine is bigger than 0, 0 if cosine equals 0, and -1 if the cosine is negative, is less than 0. Okay, so it's either +1, 0, or -1. So if I draw a picture of cosine first, don't do the function directly, let's do cosine first. What does cosine look like? We're on the interval here. Here we'll say is 2 pi, here's pi, here's pi by 2, here's -pi/2, pi, and -2 pi will be somewhere over here. What does the cosine look like? I'm going to draw it with a dotted line. Cosine starts at 1, and then it goes down to 0 at pi by 2, and then all the way down to -1 here, all the way up here, all the way up there. That's what a cosine period looks like. And then here's the same thing on the other side, unless I make a mistake. Okay. Okay, so 2 periods of cosine plotted here. That's what cosine looks like. Now, the signum function is not cosine. It's a piecewise function. It's got 3 parts. It's either +1, 0, or -1. So I'm going to draw the 3 parts by looking at where cosine is either positive, 0, or negative. So where is the cosine function positive? That's this whole interval here. So I'm going to draw the signum function. Looks like this. It's +1 there. It's also +1 on this little piece over here at the end, and this little piece on the end over here. Then the function, I've drawn this entire pink piece. Wherever the cosine was positive, the signum function looks like that. What about the middle piece in purple? That's where the cosine is 0. So where's the cosine 0? Here, and here, and here, and here. So these ones are filled in. It's really 0. And actually, to be crystal clear, I probably should have filled in a big open circle here on the endpoints here to make sure we're not including the endpoint pi over 2. Pi over 2, cosine is 0, so the signum is 0. Last but not least, is the negative numbers. That's when cosine is negative, and the whole function looks like this. So whenever cosine is negative, the signum is just -1. And again, not filled in. So that is what the function looks like. It oscillates between 1 and -1. And if you look at this function, it is repeating itself with the same type of spacing as the original cosine function, right? So this function is 2 pi periodic. One function is 2 pi periodic because if you want to, connect this dot to this dot, those two are exactly the same. That distance is 2 pi, so the function is 2 pi periodic. Let's get that off my graph. And say the period equals 2 pi. What are the domain and range? So the domain in this example is -2 pi to pi. Of course, in general, you could do this for any x value. So you could think of this as a small piece of the whole graph domain of R. What is the range? The range is interesting. It is only -1, 0, and 1 with curly brackets. There are no points in between 1 and 0 and -1. Those are the only points. I do wonder, I'm curious if Desmos knows how to do a signum. Let's see. Sine? Yeah, sine, spelled SIGHN, of cosine of x. And what does it look like? In blue, it's the function we plotted. It is flipping flopping between 1 and -1 and 0. So that's what Desmos is drawing. So there you go. There's the graph again. You can check it in Desmos. Good example problem on compositions and new functions and that kind of thing. So that's not what I want. I want OBS. Okay. Stop the video there, and hopefully that helped.